Welcome to the Women Who Changed the World podcast, the place where everyday women world changers share their stories to inspire, challenge, and equip you to change your world.
The event of the year for Christian business owners is just around the corner. Handprint Legacy Live 2021 is virtual this year, which makes it super easy to attend from anywhere in the world, without makeup, long flights, or expensive hotel rooms. Thursday through Saturday, June 24 to 26, we'll spend 3 powerful days mapping out your first or next most important steps for your business. I'm Katie Horner. My husband and I have grown from full-time ministry in Mexico to full-time international business owners by understanding and solving the countless marketing challenges faced by Christian entrepreneurs. We created the Handprint Legacy Live event as a safe haven where small business owners, teachers, authors, and coaches strategize, implement, and grow their business. This event is highly interactive and tickets are limited. Grab yours today before we sell out, because 3 days of Bible-based fun and marketing instruction is going to leave you with your next marketing funnel all mapped out. Register now for the 2021 event at handprintlegacylive.com.
Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of Women Who Changed the World. I am so excited to bring to you my friend Bricia. I met her on Instagram. I fell in love with her accent. If you don't know, I have a thing for accents. I just love them. I love listening to her talk. And as I told her just a moment ago, if she's going live, I'm going to watch it, whether I'm watching it immediately or the replay, because I just love listening to the sound of her voice. But it's not just her voice. You hear her heart in everything she does. And we connected on a level of loving ourselves and healing. And so I had to have her come on so she could share her story, because you need to know that you are not walking in pain and trauma alone. How are you, Bricia?
Well, I'm doing great, Samantha. I'm doing great. It's an honor and a pleasure to be sharing this moment with you. So thank you for inviting me.
I am so glad you are here.
And yeah, like you said, we met on Instagram.
You never know where you're going to meet people. It's a small world now. So tell my listeners a little bit about your story, where you came from to where you are.
A little bit about me?
Yes, please.
Well, I call myself, I would say that, God child, okay? A citizen of the world, that I kind of love. But what I do, I'm a mindset and transformation coach. And, that is my divine calling. And I'm here on this earth, and I believe, that, my ministry is healing. And I have a mission and a purpose to help women who suffer from, physical, sexual, or emotional, abuse. I help them here. I help them walk the inside beauty, become the best version, so that they can be able to serve the world, according to the mountain of influence. That's what I do. That's where I am. And I'm also a mom of 2 beautiful children. I call them T-square, mom T-square, that I usually call myself. I have it because I have a toddler and I have a teen. So it's a mom T-square that I lovely, cherishly, appreciate. Like I always say, that being a mom I never take it for granted. I just love it. And I know that's one of the best, despite of everything that happened to me, is like, I've been blessed because I have the honor of, being a mom, especially to these children. So yeah, literally.
So what got you to this point of deciding to be a mindset and transformation coach? What happened? Because I feel like when people find their purpose, it usually happens because of their own pain and their own trauma. So what happened with you to get you to the point of wanting to do this?
Well, I would say that I specialize in trauma, and I used to be that traumatized child, that traumatized women years ago. At the age of 11, I describe my life as a normal life until that moment where I was introduced to the sexual world, in brutal way, and I was sexually abused, at the age of 11, and as the result of that, I become pregnant, and that moment not only damaged me physically, I was damaged emotionally. I was just messed up from head to toe. And that's how the trauma really, entered to my life. Because before that, I was a normal child. I was playing. I was going to school. I always tell myself that was one of the top 10 of the classes. And this trauma, when I talk about the consequence of trauma, this trauma not only attacked me physically, emotionally, but also had a huge impact of my, my student life, my education life. So all of that emotion, all of that got mixed up. I went through depressions, one after another. And I describe my childhood as, first of all, that first scene of the trauma introduced was I went from teen, from a child to a teen to a mom overnight. That's how I call my kind of transition. And, when that event happened, I got traumatized. And for example, instead of going, to the normal class like every other child would go, I was going to the counselor at age of 11 or 12. So my whole childhood, my whole teenage was literally, of all the trauma. Because when other people will live about Hollywood, we be dreaming about Hollywood, I'll be reminded, that thing that happened. I will have nightmares. I will have crying. I will have moans. When I found out that I was pregnant, I literally, wanted to kill myself. I literally had a prayer. Remember the prayer that I told God, please, of course, remember, that is the mind of 11 years old. I will stop. I remember, quote to quote, Lord, please, I want to wake up in the morning and have this pregnancy disappear. That was the mind of a 12 years old. I didn't even know what a baby was. I didn't even know what a pregnancy was, but that was my prayer because I was in pain. I was devastated. I was in shock. And the only thing I knew, and of course, the worst of it, I was ashamed of myself. So after that, physically, emotionally, I hated myself. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't have no more relationship with anybody, so to speak. Because again, everybody, I become, kind of physical or kind of, perpetual, predator again. Anytime I would see someone, I'd be scared. So I lived in that little bubble for years after years after years. And the only idea that I had was just revenge. The only idea that I only have was just, to kill myself. So anytime I would have the opportunity, there was the only idea, the only thoughts that I have destruction because I was not worth living. I was not worth, being here because, the pain was too much. Because not only that I had been, through that, but I had to leave. I had to have the result of that when I had to look at my child, So I had a proof of what had happened physically. I had to prove that it happened, emotionally. And I had a proof, that I could touch, that I can live, that I had to kind of force to love, because again, it wasn't desired. So the trauma has been, my normal living. I always say that was the only story that I had for many years. That was the story I was telling myself. That was my identity, a rape child, a victimized child, a child has been abused. That's how I see myself. If it was written on the forehead, that was how I see myself. I was walking, I remember days walking down, I had a low self-esteem that I suffer. I had the woman that you see today that I talk to you kind of freely is a total woman 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. There's a lot of work that has been done that wasn't like this, and of course, I never even knew that I could share my story one day. I never knew that. So, really like little by little, it's a huge whole story movie, but really that's how the trauma got introduced and had become, the calling of the coach come to the fact that God literally stopped me, asked me, Bricia, it's time for you to heal. I want to use you. And I was like, God, you're going to use me, an abused child, a shamed child, with my background, with all the stuff. I cannot remind God who I was, like God didn't know who I was. And that was the discussion between God and me. I was like, no, God, you cannot use me for what? Who's going to? So and that had gone for months after months. And he come again and said, Bricia, I want to use you. I want to use you for my kingdom, and I want you to heal. I want you to go heal other people. But before that, I'm going to heal you. Then you're going to go heal other people. Like, me? Like, who am I? So I'm like fighting with God, fighting over fighting. And finally, he was like, listen. And I asked God, I said, God, after all I've been through, he said, yes, everything that you've been through was for a purpose. So that's really like, he really like showed me not only the call, but he showed me exactly what he wanted me. That's why my page, my professional page is called Born for a Purpose. That is why my YouTube channel is called Born for a Purpose, because again, it was a divine revelation. So as a result of that, I decided, I had a calling, so a divine calling, to now go ahead and heal other people and teach other people. But the funny things is what the one of the thing, the trigger that he gave me, that I had to start sharing my story. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, God, you're lying. I'm not going to share my story to anybody. Nobody's going to want to listen to, that kind of story, So exactly, that's really how it started, Samantha.
But I guess in a way, you're kind of getting your revenge by sharing your story. You're getting your revenge on Satan, saying, see, you can't get me. Because even that he was using that for shame for you, and you're going, nope, God save me. I don't need, you can't get me. So in that way, I feel like you're getting your revenge against Satan for what he did to you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. No, you can't.
And that
you can't. You can't.
That's powerful. That's powerful to be able to step out of the trauma and the pain and the guilt and the shame and say, here I am. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you go live on Instagram and when you're talking, because I knew some of your story, I would be like, no, not the same woman. No, she's so different. And then I step back and I'm like, I am so proud of her, because that's the trauma you experience is huge. And here you're going, but look, it's okay. You are beautifully standing here saying, I am imperfect. I was scarred, but I am healed, and you can be too. And I just love you. I love it when you do it. And I'm like, yes, preach it, girl. People need to hear this.
I love you too, sis. Yes, you can be here.
Oh,
yes, you can.
It's so powerful. So, I have friends who are Christians who are like, no, Christians don't need counseling. All you need is God. You have no problems. So what's your take on a Christian needing counseling? Because whether you're a Christian or not, you've experienced trauma. There are many Christians I know who have experienced trauma. So what is your take on Christians needing counseling and coaching?
Even as a Christian, we have to remember that we are human beings. And by being human beings, that we have blood, we have flesh, we have everything englobed to it. And we have to understand that pain happens to everyone. So pain is like if you're a Christian, if you're a believer, or if you are atheist, no, it happens to a lot of people. Even Christ, who just died, who just celebrated the resurrection, he had to go through that pain too. He had to go through the physical pain. He had to feel the pain in order for him to have compassion for us. But still, at the end of the day, it reminded us that we have to forgive those who hurt us. So even as a Christian, it is normal, it's okay. And we have to understand that, yes, we go to church on Sunday, but we don't live at church. I always say that to people, we don't live at church, because even though we go to church, we have all the things that's been poured to us, but we are living in a normal society that has different laws that all of us will believe, and we believe in the kingdom, because that's the kingdom mindset that I have. I always talk about the kingdom mindset because that's my mind. I have the mind of Christ, all right? But again, we are living in this world where the laws and regulations are different. When you have a colleague who doesn't even believe in God, when you have even the doctor that you go to doesn't believe in God, yet we are all experiencing different kind of trauma every single day. And it doesn't matter whatever you believe or not, whatever you're believing or not. When you go to trauma, when you go to those kind of chaotic, most dangerous, devastating, that kill people, because a lot of people die from trauma. You know, you have to ask, learn that, you know what, I need help. And as Christian, we've been told, wrongly that we don't need help. Yes, we pray, okay? It's good. I pray too, okay? I pray too, don't get me wrong. But you need to have someone that can be there with you and for you at those tragic moments, that can listen to you. And I always say that listening, like opening your mouth, it's one of the biggest steps to healing. Mm-hmm. And that's what counseling is. You sit in front of me, I listen to you, and I kind of had a compassion for you. I open my listening ear to you. All right? And you have to understand that we need that, because there are a lot of people that have been through trauma. They're living on their own. They're living on their own. They never spoke. It has happened 20, 30 years ago. They never spoke to anybody about it. And they went ahead and just had the normal life. And one day, all of a sudden, they told you, oh, the person has committed suicide. Say, how in the world? How? They were being successful. They had money, because that's what the society sees. But there was something. There was something under that. There was a wounds that was still open. Yes, they look fine. They look okay. They look happy. But inside of them, like I always said, people, when you go at the end of the day, when you take all the lashes as women, when you take all the makeup as a woman, when you take all those things that the world makes you, your titles, you back in front of your own self. Mm-hmm. You cannot lie to your own self. And even as a Christian, you have to come to the point that, you know what, I am hurt. And when you're hurt, you need to go to somebody that can help you take that burden away. And that's what counseling does. You need to be able to sit down and say, you know what, I need help. And preferably, it's good to go to Christian counselor if you want, because there are some people that have been divinely called, like me, that can help you to that process. Because again, I've been anointed to that, because healing is my ministry, mm-hmm. And the process of that, yes, I'm a Christian, and yes, I know already what's had happened because I've lived to that. So my compassion will be double, knowing that, yes, I've been equipped, I've been anointed, all right, I've been sent to heal. And also, I know what you're going through, sis, by yourself, because I've been through that. So I can be on the same level with you. Yes, we will pray, but I will listen to you first, and then we'll pray. I'll give you the tips, then we pray. But we, as Christians, we usually stop on the praying section, but there are no action, because again, faith without action is dead. And we only holding on faith, but again, what is the action that you are doing right now? Yes, I believe it's good, but you have to have action. You have to faith it, and you have to go in action. You have to do something. And that's the doer, sitting there looking for a counselor, looking for, Christian counseling, looking for somebody in the church that's been qualified, that can help you. Mm-hmm. They are. And yes, to answer the question, make sure, yes, Christian needs counseling more than ever.
So if I face my own trauma, what's going to happen to me if I don't take the time and the energy to get the healing I need?
First of all, yeah, I love that you say take it if I don't take the time. You need to know that trauma does not heal overnight. Healing doesn't happen overnight, because your trauma did not happen overnight. When that happened, to you at the age that happened, there's a build up that's happening to you. There is something. There's something that's happening inside of you. So in order for you to recover, in order for you to walk inside beauty again, to see that again, in order for you to heal, it takes time. All right? It takes time. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that, okay, when they see you, for example, they want, what can I take? Because the doctor will give you a pill when you have a fever, to kind of download the fever. But when healing, that has to do with your emotion. That has to do with the trauma that has been done. So I always want to tell people, like like Dr. Liv said, you have to imagine your trauma like a tree. Anytime you've been traumatized, those roots are getting inside of your soul, inside of your body, inside of your mind. So for you to kind of take that tree away, it takes time. It's going to take energy, all right? It's going to take your own effort. And again, If you don't do that inside work, if you don't seek help, what's going to happen is that it's going to come out, because again, you have to express those emotions. That's why a lot of people, they suffer, they have high blood pressure. All right, because it has to come. It's like a compression. At some point, it's going to explode. You have those people who are going to try to kind of hide that pain through alcohol. You have those other people that will go have a sexual kind of sexual addiction. Other people, they will turn to drug addiction. All right, or they be kind of something, because again, you have to find a place to hide or to hold on. You have to have something that kind of gives you a lot of hope, okay? Or that kind of tell you, what, my pain is kind of okay for a moment, but again, it's just for a moment. So if you don't take time to heal, you're gonna realize that little by little, you are destroying your own life, because again, that's what is happening. Because again, the pain or the trauma inside of you has created what I call a clutter. And a clutter mind cannot be able to prosper, because God wants us to prosper and be healthy as our soul prosper. But a soul that has been wounded, that has been cluttered, cannot prosper.
So what kind of things are in a clutter mind?
Wrong thoughts, kind of having, the clutter mind is not clear. The clutter mind is not clear. The clutter mind doesn't have visions. The clutter mind lives in the past, is always remembering the past. The clutter mind, it doesn't move because you have no vision, because to move, you have to have a direction. But the clutter mind is stuck to that thing that happened 20 years ago. And is living in that, is been nurturing that. And again, we all know that whatever we are focusing on, we just extend. And that's what the clutter mind is. The clutter mind is stuck on that trauma for years, because it's been the same reality, the same story is telling to himself over and over and over, which is creating more trauma years after years.
Wow. So you can keep telling yourself the same story over and over and never get out of this cyclical space.
And the more you tell that, the more clutter you have. You don't move, and you realize you don't move. That's why you say people, oh, I've had a dream when I was 10 years old. But you have that dream, but you never step up to your dream because you keep telling yourself the abused child. So you cannot see yourself as a coach because it's child. The abused child cannot see himself or herself stepping up on the stage and share their story, because your body is here, but your mind is 20 years back.
Wow.
Full of clutter.
Wow. Okay. That is a lot there. That is the path of,
yes, it is,
dealing with that. She's laughing at me because I have my head in my hands thinking, wow, I don't know what to say to all of this. Because every person, I believe, has some form of trauma, some more serious than others, but we all experience some kind of trauma, even if it's just as a child you understood things the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced this with my own children, where they thought that I didn't love them because of, I loved one child more than the other because I spent more time helping one child than I did the other with their schoolwork because they needed help more. And so they imagined, oh, mom loves them more. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't love any of you more. But that created a trauma in their head of feeling
Absolutely.
unloved. And so as long as they hang on to that, or like in my case, as long as I hang on to, I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough and nobody's going to love me or like me, I'm never going to make progress. I'm going to keep beating up against that rock. Okay, so how do I remove this whole thing of worthlessness? Because I have this mindset that I struggle with, that God's like trying to beat me into realizing that I'm worthy of the call that he's placed on me. So if if you were talking to me as my counselor, what would you be telling me to break down this "you're worthless" into truth?
The very, very, very first step would be to forgive yourself. The first step would be to forgive yourself and know that you are not at fault. You are not guilty. Whatever that happened to you was not your fault. Okay, so you have to remove that guiltness. That is kind of a heavy weight that's you've been placed on yourself. Because again, you said it's because of me, and you find all the negative stuff that you have, and you live in that. No, I've been abused because of me. I was too pretty. I was too attractive. I was too and that. And it's not you. To put it simple, the person who abused you, for example, was the one in blame, not you. You've been victim. So stop being a victim. Start having, and I would say that when you get out of trauma, you have to get your head first out. So start getting your head out, start changing the way you're thinking about what happened to you. So you're forgiving yourself. Once you're forgiving yourself, the second one is to change the way you see yourself. So you see yourself, old person, bad person, but you see yourself as that new creature, because that's the power of God is giving us. Because it's asking you, be it transformed by the renewal of our mind. You have to change your mind and say, you know what? I am not a victimized anymore. I am a child of God. So by doing that, accepting that, you are unconscious, subconscious is changing your identity by renewing your mind. Once you renew your mind, creature, all right? Doing that, you start changing your story. You're starting thinking like God. You're starting having, like I said, you're starting changing the language that you're telling. You're starting changing the way you're addressing yourself, because again, you have changed your identity. So instead of calling you, the words now will change. Instead of calling you, oh, abuse, no, you say, you know what, I'm victorious. I am an overcomer. I am here. I was born for a purpose. I am the head and not the tail. I am above and not beneath. So by doing those little steps, you will see that from the mental, because it all starts with your mind. And we know that as a man thinking, so it is. You are what we're thinking. That's what the Bible says. It's all come to transforming and renewing your mind, which will come to changing the way you're seeing yourself, the way you're thinking about yourself, changing the way you're seeing yourself. You renew your mind, you renew your story, you change your identity. Whatever you're saying about yourself will also change. So you're studying, instead of using negative words that you used to call yourself, trash, etc., your mind being transformed will now produce, healthy thoughts, which will produce healthy words. So the process is kind of thing, and of course, it does not happen overnight. It does not happen overnight. That's why you need to have somebody that's going to guide you. You need to have patience with yourself. A lot of patience, you need to have patience with yourself, and you need to be willing. The biggest step behind that, you have to be willing to say, I need help. Mm-hmm. Can somebody help me? And that's like the number first one, to say, no, I need help. Because again, the truth is you cannot do that by yourself.
Yes.
I wish I could do that by myself, but I could not. I will not lie. You cannot. You need somebody. Even Jesus needed 12 disciples. Even Jesus, before he started his ministry, he needed to be baptized. He needs to be coached by somebody. So you need somebody to show you the way. You cannot do that by yourself. We all need somebody. Because all of that I'm describing is not easy. Forgetting yourself, okay? Forgetting now finally the person who has done that to you, which is like the huge mountain. Because again, you might forget, but the hardest part is to forgive. You might forget what happened, but forgive that person. Oh my God. People will say, you had to kill me that doing that. But again, it is a process. by saying, you know what, I need help. And the last step would be like, you know what, you make a decision, say, you know, I'm done suffering. I'm done seeing my life over and over. Because again, if you refuse to heal, you just like a snare, you know, you just like being snared by the word of your mouth, but you only snare by your thoughts, your negative thoughts, because you don't go anywhere. You don't have new thoughts. Therefore, you don't have new idea. You don't have new vision. Your mind is cluttered. You're still on the same thing for 11 years old, or 12 years old or 20 years. You being there thinking about the same thought, remembering the same story. Your life is not going nowhere. Your life is not going nowhere. Therefore, the result is what? You're miserable. You've probably been to the same job for the just complaining, blaming other people, and doing nothing to change it. So literally at the end, the top you have to be, I'm done living the same experience. I'm done suffering. I'm done being betrayed. I'm done that I keep on looking at myself, because again, you become ugly. You neglect yourself. I remember neglecting my own self. My own things, thinking about the way you express your depression and stuff. I used to throw over the food. I used to go to food. Food was my addiction. Food was my addiction. I was not drinking alcohol. I was not sex addicted, but I would go to food. And guess what? Since I was eating, not controlling what I was eating, guess what? I was obese. My body could not betray me. My body was just giving me back what I was giving to him. And that's the truth. That's the reality. A lot of people, and I'm going close, but I'm saying that, you know what? That's the reality. I always say, people, before you lose, you go and search for pills, external pills, and other stuff. Before you lose the external weight, you have to come back to yourself and deal with the internal weight. Because that's where the real weight. Because when I would try to, and we know we're in America, we know we have so many pills out there, and I've tried them all. But until I declutter myself, until I choose to heal myself, until I choose to deal with my own self and my trauma and get that weight away, the physical weight will not go away.
That's
Take a deep breath in. We can breathe. But that's what it is, yeah. It's a long process. It's a slow process, but it's a true process because you're not alone.
Hey everyone, I know that we are just getting started into this episode, but I had to cut the podcast episode in half to make 2 episodes because it was just too good to edit anything out. Be on the lookout because part 2, I promise, is worth the wait.
The event of the year for Christian business owners is just around the corner. Handprint Legacy Live 2021 is virtual this year, which makes it super easy to attend from anywhere in the world without makeup, long flights, or expensive hotel rooms. Thursday through Saturday, June 24 to 26, we'll spend 3 powerful days mapping out your first or next most important steps for your business. I'm Katie Horner. My husband and I have grown from full-time ministry in Mexico to full-time international business owners by understanding and solving the countless marketing challenges faced by Christian entrepreneurs. We created the Handprint Legacy Live event as a safe haven where small business owners, teachers, authors, and coaches strategize, implement, and grow their business. This event is highly interactive and tickets are limited. Grab yours today before we sell out, because 3 days of Bible-based fun and marketing instruction is going to leave you with your next marketing funnel all mapped out. Register now for the 2021 event at handprintlegacylive.com.